Perfect, thank you, Rashad. In today's webinar, we're going to go over how to create and use a Revit schedule for your bill of material when it comes to your floor shop drawings. I'm going to go over how to create the schedule, how to associate that schedule on your sheets, and also how to use the existing Revit schedule for your bill of material. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my 3D view. So you can see I have four panels already created. I've already ran the member distribution. So if we do select an element here and I just kind of scroll down to the instant properties, you're going to see here we do have that BIMSF schedule label. So it is a shared parameter. So when it comes to the Revit schedules, we can pull that information. Just to note that that tool is going to be under the drawing manager, add member distribution. I've already selected my panels and ran that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our drawing manager. So here is where our drawing settings are going to be. So you can see in this example here, I do have three. I have one that I have already kind of set up for my master. I have my traditional webinar one. So that's going to be the one that's using my Revit schedule. And then here's the default, the one that comes out of the box when you do create this one. So with this one here, if I do double click on it to open up the properties, this one here does use a drafting view. So if we go into that drafting view, so it is a floor panel drafting bill of material. You have your, your viewports, your layouts. I have put some line for the outer and the inner. And then here are the information. So you have, your labels, your description, length, and count. So if I do create, a shop drawing just out of the box using the default one, I'm just going to select this panel here, hit shop drawings. And I'm going to be using the default one. So I'm going to hit OK. So right now it's just creating that view, that the sheet, and excuse me, with the drafting view and my bill of materials. So if I go in my sheets here, you can see there is floor panel 10. So I'm just going to move it a little bit over here. So my sheets just have the bill of material and the plan view. So if I just kind of come over here, you can see I have the same information that we had when I opened up that drafting view. You have your labels, your description, length, and count. So if I do double click on it, we can see that there is line and text. So it is not a live schedule. So if you did, modify that panel by adding members or anything like that, it's not going to be updated out of the box. And again, Revit schedules, you have a lot of other, flexibilities. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so that we are going to be using it. So again, I'm going to go back into my drawing manager. I am going to go into my webinar one. Now, when we do go into these options, you can see that we do create, views for you. You're going to notice that we do have what's called a floor panel schedule bill material. So this is just out of the box. We can duplicate it and create our own. We can also create a new one. So if we did hit create new, here are our schedules. These are the drafting views. This is the Revit schedule one that we would like. So that is just going to be a duplicate of that one. So I am going to be using the default one that we create. So I'm going to double click on it to open it. Again, you have your viewport, your layout, like what text notes we're going to be using. And then here are the data that we're going to have. So I am going to be using that schedule label. I have count, type, and reported length. Just to add one, you're just going to come over here and you're just going to hit the pull down and you're going to select which one you would like. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to go down. Maybe you want some weight, or let's see, what else is there? Maybe model ID or a mark. Maybe you put a mark on it and you want to put that information in your bill of material. You would just select which ones you would like here. And then you're just going to hit OK. It'll add it, and then from here you can move it down on the list, move it up on the list, and so forth. And then here we have some information here, so you can hide this field. So if you were going to put a field there that you don't want to show up in the bill of material, but you want the Revit schedule to read that, because maybe you're filtering out on that, you do have that option. Sort categories, and then also you have filter empty values. So for the reported length, we are going to have this option checked. And the reason I have that is let's say for my panel label. My panel label does not have a reported length, but it can have, it's a type. It is associated to that panel. So we would like to remove anything that doesn't have, we'll remove anything that has an empty value. So here you can come in here and you can maybe change the header text, the alignment of it, the calculation, so the width of it. So we're going to do an auto calculation. And you can notice that for all of these ones, I already have that option checked. So this is just the default information that that you would like on your bill material. However, if you want to add more, you can do that. So I'm just going to hit OK. And then what I need to do is first we need to, set the layout directory, so that will be on, where your title blocks are. And then from there, we're just going to double click on it to, associate our Revit schedule or the Revit schedule to your sheets. So here you can see I do have the elevation. I do have here is where I have the upper right zone is where I had my drafting view. If we did have the pull down, you can see it's already associated to the Revit schedule. However, you would come in here and by default, it's going to be the drafting. You're going to switch it over to that Revit schedule. So I'm just going to hit OK, cancel just because it's already associated. So I'm going to hit OK. OK. And then from there, I'm just going to select another panel. We're going to go into our shop drawings. And instead of taking that default settings that I have, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the webinar one. I'm going to hit OK. And again, it's doing exactly the same thing that I was doing just before. It's creating that title block, and it's going to be associating those views. So again, my shop drawing only has an elevation and a bill material. So I'm going to go to sheet panel 11. So if I just kind of zoom in there, you do have a 3D view too. And then if I just zoom in there, you can see that here is the Revit schedule that the default information that I've put in there for that zone I've created. Now, if I do double click on this view, you can see it is a Revit schedule. I'm just going to move this a little bit over here. And then from here, we can do the changes that we want. So here it's, it's not grouping. So we would want that. So we can go to the edit field. We can filter. Grouping. So let's say Revit schedule, schedule label, maybe reported length, hit OK. So now you can see a little bit of grouping. Naming convention, I can see that it does say reported length. That's something that we can also change to by, changing the format here. Reported length. Again, that's really up to you how you want it. Maybe you want to change the count to maybe quantity. Again, that's your choice. If I go back into my view, since it is a live Revit schedule, the changes that I have done in the schedule itself already appears on the sheet itself. Now, since we have put that in the settings, every time I create a shop drawing now, it's going to be based off of that information. Now, this is just going to be the ones that we have selected. Now, we do have an option if we go, it's called take information from an existing Revit schedule. So what we call this is as like a master schedule. And then in that master schedule, you have, if you want to have like formulas, filters, anything like that, naming convention, you can, put that all in that Revit schedule. So again, I'm just going to go into where my schedules are. So to create one, you would just go into your views, go to your schedules, and then you just hit the schedule option. I've already created one on my end here. So I'm just going to go. I've named it master floor schedule. So in this one here, I've already kind of grouped them together. I've already changed the naming convention. I have created filters. Now, if you did want to kind of have, let's like I said before, you know, some formulas, maybe you want to have a weight there, and you want to have that in your bill material. This is where you can come in here and do this. So these are the, you know, additional things that you would like to add. Now, for us to add that to our bill material, what we'll do is we'll go into our drawing settings again. So this one here, I am going to be using the master one. Again, I have separated them, but you would do it on your end. You would have one setting for that. So I'm going to go into my drafting view, my schedule label. You see I've duplicated one and called it master. I'm going to go into my data, and now you can see that the fields all here are all graded out. The reason for that is it's duplicating an existing one. So when you do create a master schedule, you would create one by scratch, and then you will just put all the filters that is needed, anything else that you would like. So there it is. If I did hit the pull down, it will show everything else that I have as a Revit schedule. And again, if I do double click on my sheet, we're going to see that it is going to be associated to that master one. So there it is. You can see there. Perfect. Now again, I still have this one selected. I'm going to go into my shop drawings. And again, I'm going to do the same process that I just did with the other two options, is I'm going to switch over to the master. Hit OK. And it's doing the same thing. It's going to create my title block. Then it's going to create the zones, the views that I want on my title block, and then place them. Perfect. Just going to go back to my sheets. And then if I just zoom in there, you can see that the one that we use out of the box, it gave us schedule label, BIMSF schedule label, while in my master container, I switched them over to label, type, you know, and a length here. Now, if I do double click on it, you can also see by the naming, you see I have master there. So I know that this is using my master schedule. And then I can just come in here, and if I want to add additional things or anything like that, I would do that. Now, with the Revit schedules, if you're doing one Revit schedule here, it's only going to apply to that one. When you are using a master schedule, you would do your changes in the master schedule, and then you would just recreate the shop drawings so that it can pull the new information with the Revit schedule. If it's something very small, you can do it through the schedules here in the schedule option here. However, if it's a bigger change, we would suggest you just to recreate that shop drawing so that it pulls that new information. If we did add any additional things to their panels, because it is a Revit schedule, it'll automatically update it with a quantity. Let's say if I'm adding another joist here, it would say 24 instead of 23. We can refresh the view so that with using the refresh option here, and it will have that label there. Perfect. So, so in today's webinar, I went over how we create our shop drawings out of the box. It is using the drafting view. Again, it's not a live schedule, so if you did any changes, they will not be updated. I've showed you how to, you know, use the default one and set it up the way that, you know, just using the default information. Again, it's just labels, quantities, what type, and then the length. And then from there, if you would like to use, you know, your own Revit schedule, so we would call it like a master schedule, and then from there, again, you know, you would just create the schedule here, and then put that formula where you want to, and then from there, how to kind of get your bill material, your Revit bill material to pull that information instead of the default information that was set. Perfect.
Right, thank you for that, Marilyn. And we'll now open the floor for your questions. And I already noticed that we have a question from Rudra Prasad. Marilyn, would you like to just quickly have a look at that?
Sure. I just, it's a little bit small on my end, so I apologize. Just. Hmm. Is there a way to pull this out? Sorry.
Yeah, I can just can try and maybe send that to you in a separate chat.
Okay, so we noticed that in one version, we have an option to frame the weight and the miscellaneous weight in the schedules. In the new version, we don't have the option for floor schedules. Okay, so that looks like it's for floors. So it looks like this one, the one that you're speaking of is for the a different module. Uh, so that one looks like what you're speaking of is the, sorry guys, it's if you want to have a framing weight and a miscellaneous weight. So those are going to be created using a panel shell. So this is going to be a different tool, and that tool will create that miscellaneous weight and framing weight. And then from there, because they are shared parameters, they can show up. So you need to run the panel shell tool first on your wall panels, and then from there they should appear in the instance properties here. Since they are shared parameters, they should pull up in your Revit schedules. So that was one of your questions. And then your other question was, we have, these are not, these questions are more for general questions. They're not going towards the floor shop drawings. So I don't know if you would like me to answer those, Rashab, or do you want me just to kind of still answer them?
Oh, well,
Because they're not
if it
focusing
doesn't take
on
too long,
what
perhaps you can answer it. Otherwise, we can respond to him via email, whatever he prefers.
Yeah, his second question, it's more yeah, it's
So
more
email is
of a
fine. Okay,
just investigation. Yeah, yeah. So I'll email him. Perfect.
that sounds good.
Um,
We have
perfect.
another question. Can we get multiple panel drawings in one sheet and instead of one panel per sheet? And if so, will schedules be created right for all panels, walls versus floors?
For our walls, we do have that option. So if I do hit to pull down here, it's called generate gather sheets. So this will allow you to have a Revit, sorry, and it's going to be an elevation view. It's going to give you a bottom view. However, it's not going to give you a Revit schedule. It's going to give you, it's going to tell you a quantity of how many studs are in there. So this option allows you to have multiple panels when it comes to walls on one sheet, but it does not give you a bill material. For the floors, we don't have that functionality. However, it does not stop you from creating your shop drawings since the views are already generated. You can always remove them from the sheet itself, create a big sheet, and then just pull them on there because Revit does create those views there. Or MWF creates those views, sorry. And then you can just remove the sheet here, the one that's the default one, and create your big one and then pull them onto the big one. Perfect.
I hope that answered your
Yeah,
question.
we currently don't have it. Yeah.
Sure. And we'll just give it a couple more seconds for any other questions to pop in. So again, you can either type it in the questions tab or you can raise your hand so that we may unmute you. All All right, that looks like a wrap for today. If you do have any questions about this presentation or would like to set up a one-on-one demonstration to learn about how our features can impact your projects, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details will be provided along with the recording of this webinar tomorrow via email. And having said that, I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful day ahead.
Perfect. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you.